Hi guys. So today we're going to talk about transplanting tomato plants. We're going to do a lot of transplanting in the next couple of weeks, but we really need to get started with the tomato plants. I actually did all the peppers. This is how few peppers we have. I did all the peppers yesterday. My OCD kicked in, and even though I should have been transplanting tomatoes, and I'll tell you why in a second, I just felt like getting these little guys done. So they're done. This is a tiny fraction of what we used to have for peppers, what we're used to having for peppers in the greenhouse, and that's all because of those rodents. So now we're going to move on to tomatoes. Truthfully, I should have been doing these before. Things have just been so crazy. The size of these tomato plants, they look juicy and beautiful, but they're definitely bigger than you want them to be when you transplant. We talked earlier about the fact that, you've got those cotyledons, those seed leaves that come up first, and then you want to have at least one set of true leaves. You can still see that happening with some of these more slowly starting ones. These are actually a good size for transplanting here. These aren't that bad. They're kind of still on the small side. These will be fine. But you can see what happens when they get to be this big. They get a little stressed and floppy. So I transplanted these guys yesterday. These are those Roma tomatoes that Mr. Fisher wants. I think he'll probably pretty much clean us out of all our Roma tomatoes. And then and you can see these are quite a bit perkier. They're still floppy a little bit because they're so tall. They will stand up straight. They'll straighten themselves right up. And these are ones that I transplanted. I think those were yesterday too. Still a little floppier. But you can see these are the ones that got transplanted today so far. And they do look quite stressed. But I'm not worried about them. They're going to perk right up. It's not ideal to transplant them when they're this size, but they will come back just fine. They'll perk up. We'll give them a little water. They'll have a little chance to settle into their new spaces, and they'll perk right up. You can see that each one has its own name tag. These are our beefsteaks. These are our aromas. Remember, because those leaves are so identical, even though a beefsteak tomato and a Roma tomato is two totally different tomatoes, the plants look exactly the same. So you can see I have some in 6-packs over here. These are in those small flats, the very single flats, so just one of these guys. There's a couple little tiny guys I found at the end that I didn't want to throw away. Don't want to waste any. So you could imagine if you were here with me, somebody would probably be just sitting here writing out popsicle sticks to label everything. My handwriting got pretty bad. Next thing I'm going to do is transplant these big boys, and I'm going to show you how it works. I've got a bunch of stuff set up. One of the challenges is coming up with a system when you're out here working by yourself, so you can kind of be neat and orderly. I've got a little bit of a mess down below my feet. I've got my dirty greenhouse pants on, and you can see the mess that I've been making. This is my compost bucket over here where I'm throwing away the stuff as I discard them from where we germinated our tomato plants. I've got some popsicle sticks ready to go. While I was waiting for my phone to charge back up, I made a bunch of popsicle sticks trying to use my time efficiently. So I've got, these are, because I'm doing it all myself, I'm abbreviating things as much as possible. These are big boys. So some of these look more like they say big box, but that's going to have to be good enough. Eventually, I think I'm probably going to be scribbling out on the other side of the old popsicle sticks, trying to reuse them just to recycle. I've got a little bit of extra soilless mix in a container here so that if I need some, I don't have to get up and go get it. Trusty Sharpie. And then I've got a tray full of small flats, the little individual flats. Normally we would sell these individual tomatoes for 50 cents. Then I've got another tray over here. This tray is filled of 6-packs. I had plenty of 6-packs to reuse after I dumped all that other stuff. Some of the more exotic tomatoes we won't even plant in 6-packs, and we don't because the seeds are expensive And people don't necessarily want a lot of exotic tomatoes. They might want to try, so example, what's one of these little guys here? This is our chocolate cherry tomato. That's one of our exotics. This is a fantastic tomato. I just love these things. I'll plant half a dozen in my garden, but most people won't want 6 of these. They won't want a whole 6-pack of cherry tomatoes. They might just want to try 1 or 2. So that's why planting in these single flats is really fun for our customers and the faculty and staff and the community here at school, because then they get to try a whole bunch of different things. But now a big boy tomato that we're going to transplant now, this is a good old standard tomato, and so you might want a 6-pack of these guys. So I'm going to try to show you how we do this. I'm going to do this with my one hand. Oh, actually, Abby O'Brien just showed up.
Hi.
Hold this for me, but
I can
don't
hold
put
that.
me in it.
Okay.
Because I don't have any.
I know what you mean.
All right, so Abby's going to stay 6 feet away from me. She's going to hang here just for a couple minutes so I can show you how we do this. So, again, these tomatoes are much larger than you would normally want. I'm going to pull out a couple like this, and I'm just going to get started. So I'm going to take one out, and you can see these cotyledons. Those are those seed leaves. I'm going to pinch those guys right off. And because a tomato is actually a vine, even though it's also a flowering plant, it's a vegetable and all those things, because it's a vine, it's going to grow roots all along the stem. So especially when you've got big floppy tomato plants like this, what you can do is really bury it deep. Okay, so you know my old rule about you plant it exactly how it was planted before? That does not apply to tomato plants. As we've said before, there are exceptions to every rule, and how deep you plant a tomato plant is one of those exceptions. So these don't seem quite as floppy as those guys over there, but they might flop over like the other ones did. So I'm going to pinch off those cotyledons. Sometimes I can forget and I can pinch them off after. And I'm going to bury these guys nice and deep. So these are all my singles. I'm lifting the soil sticks out, moving it aside, and then tucking it back in. And I am tucking these guys in, but as you can see, I'm definitely not packing the soil. Remember, we need to make sure that the air spaces in the soil are still there for air to be in the soil and for water to be able to penetrate and leach down. Every single one of these guys, because they're singles, is going to get my big boy tomato stick, or my B-box. My B-boy tomato stick. So I'll eventually fill this whole tray. And then over here with the 6-pack, what I try to do with the 6-pack is find ones that are smaller. I'm going to go to the other side of this, and I'm going to start lifting my tomatoes. And again, pinching off those cotyledons, throwing them in my compost bucket. And I'm just going to pull them out one at a time. One of the things students have a tendency to want to do is pull out a whole bunch. Just kind of lay them on the table. Well, what happens is those little tiny root hairs, they dry out really fast. So you want to kind of do them as you go. And so I will eventually fill this entire tray of 6-packs up with the big boy tomatoes. Every 6-pack is only going to get 1 stick. I've had times where I've come into the greenhouse and students have put 36 sticks in the tray of 606s, but we won't do that today. All right, so I'm going to fill these in, but I'll stop now so Abby can go along her way, and have a great day.